Hey everyone, welcome back to Person Wife Diaries. I'm Allie and hope everybody's had a good week. I know I'm doing really good here. Um, I had my intake appointment with the doctor who's going to be evaluating me for autism. I think that went really well, and I feel like she does want to help me find some answers. So on the 30th of this month, I will be doing that evaluation and then getting the results in July after they have time to process everything. So that's where I'm at with that. Um, so today I'm going to start the first of a two-part video really of what happens when somebody is released from prison. And what are the rules and guidelines that they would need to follow. Reason being, there are standard rules of supervision, and then there's a whole separate set of rules for sex offenders in addition. So I'm going to break that down into two parts so it's not so much information all at once. So I'm going to start out with just a few things. I'm in Wisconsin, which is where I'm located. We have a few different names for it: parole, probation, extended supervision. For the purposes of simplicity, I'm just going to collectively refer to any release as parole. And the agent, supervising agent, I'm going to refer to as a parole officer, or PO for short. Parole and extended supervision are used. They have a little bit different meanings here, but I'm just going to use that as referring to somebody who's been released from prison just for the ease of, making a video and not having to go into a lot of detail. It has to do with the different laws that people are sentenced under, and it's more or less the same thing. So once a person serves their time and they're eligible for release, either due to this truth in sentencing law, which has a mandatory release date, or whether they've been in front of the parole board and been granted release under the parole law, there is going to be a set of, in the majority of cases, there is going to be some sort of supervision, at least for some period of time, that any one of these inmates who are released, are going to have to follow. And of course, it's all done under the direction of a PO or a parole agent. So once a person's been granted that release, leading up to their time of their actual release, they would be setting up, looking for a place to live, looking for a job, and also, of course, they would need to get a set of clothing lined up for their release date and a ride. And all of those things do have to be approved by their PO prior to their release. So the person that they want to pick them up would have to be approved. The living situation has to be approved. And again, like I said, they have to have some kind of a job lined up or be looking for a job. And that'll involve, most of them have been away for quite a period of time, renewing a driver's license, getting ID cards, and things that they may not have anymore. So that's all part of the release process. And so once the person is released out into the community on their parole or supervision, there are a set of standardized rules that each person will need to follow. Not following any one of these rules results in revocation, meaning the person can end up back in prison. You'll see why I think some of these are kind of silly, but crimeless revocation is very common. And I don't think necessarily necessitates a person being sent back to prison for violating one of these rules. So, to start off with, the first and foremost, and probably the most common sense, don't break the law. Obviously, breaking the law, committing another crime, is going to result in your being revoked and being sent back to prison. But, common sense, right? You think. Each person is required to report any arrest or police contact to their PO within 72 hours. meaning, of course, if they've been arrested and let go, there's no cause. Somebody's on GPS, their GPS goes offline, they might be arrested and held overnight. There's no crime committed, but they do still have to report that to their parole officer. Or if they witness an accident and they have contact with the police giving a statement about a car accident, all those things have to be reported within 72 hours. They are required to cooperate with all rehabilitation or treatment programs or therapy that are offered. They are required to inform their PO of their whereabouts as he or she directs. Meaning, parole officers are individuals. They may have a different set of expectations, but as they require, the release person under supervision is going to have to inform them of their whereabouts. Can even include keeping a journal or a log of where they've been. So they are required to submit a monthly report, a written report monthly as directed. I'm not really sure at this point what that means. Probably just a report of the things that they've been doing, job searches. I'm not quite sure. Once my husband gets home and we have to deal with more of that, I'm going to, I'll certainly be able to provide more, but at this point, they're going to have to make themselves available for searches, including their home, vehicle, computers, electronic devices, etc. Their person, their entire property. Just make sure that they don't have anything illegal, any contraband, any drugs, weapons that they're not allowed to have. So they do have to make themselves available to be searched as requested. Comply with any tests as ordered by the courts. Could be drug tests, could be a breathalyzer, could be a lie detector test. We'll get more into that in the second part, but there are some cases in which a PO might order a person to take intermittent lie detector tests. You need to obtain approval prior to changing addresses or employment. You're not going to be able to just decide they don't want to live somewhere, pack up, move. All of that has to be done with prior approval. Each person under supervision on parole will need to obtain a travel permit prior to leaving the state, and of course with the approval of their PO. Speaking of a person I know personally, they work as a truck driver, and every month or whatever it is, as their parole officer dictates, they have to obtain a travel permit to continue traveling across state lines for their job. I imagine that's probably a little bit easier than obtaining one to travel for leisure, but again, I haven't been through that before. You need to obtain approval prior to buying, selling, trading, or operating a vehicle. Again, I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is behind that, but they have to have approval to do such a thing. They need to obtain approval prior to using credit. So prior to getting a credit card, applying for a loan, they would need to obtain prior approval to use their credit. Again, I'm not sure why that is, but these are the rules. Pay all court-ordered obligations and fees. Any unpaid restitution, supervision fees, they would need to be keep up on paying those fees. It's going to be dictated by the court what that amount is, but they do have to be kept current with paying those fees. Obtain prior approval prior to purchasing, possessing, or using a firearm. In our state, that would apply to somebody who maybe has a misdemeanor. If you're a felon, you are not allowed to have a firearm. You're not allowed to own or possess a firearm. You may be able to use a person's a hunter. They may be able to use a bow or a crossbow. They're not allowed to own, possess, or use at any point a firearm. They are not able to vote until such time their civil rights have been restored. And what that means is your civil rights have been restored once you have completed your supervision. Once you are released from supervision, your civil rights have been restored, then you may vote. My husband in particular will be on supervision for, I believe, in the neighborhood of 30 years. So he will not be able to vote until such time he is released from supervision, or maybe never, depending. He could die before that happens. So, report for all scheduled or unscheduled appointments. Anytime your parole officer requests to meet with you, you have to be there. You can't just not show up or choose not to go. You have to show up. And then apply with any other court-ordered conditions or other rules set by your PO. It's kind of vague. I would hope that they're all reasonable rules. This list that I have here pretty much covers the gamut for standard rules. But again, I said that I'm going to address next week. There is a whole entire separate list of obligations for sex offenders in addition to these. So I will touch on that. But again, as I said earlier, violating any one of these rules can result in revocation, which means somebody will go back to prison and complete more time. So that's it. It's a list of approximately 18 different rules that they are expected to follow. This is the standard release. Next week, when I get ready to do my video, I'll show you what a judgment of conviction looks like, and that's the statement from the courts that actually, this actually got a list on it of all the obligations that a person is subject to, if there may be anything in addition to these. So I will have that. If you have any questions about anything I've discussed here, please go ahead and leave them in the comments below. If you're following my Prison Life Diaries Facebook page, I posted some pictures of some different backgrounds that I'm in consideration of. I fell in love with this one when I saw it at first, but now that I've been using it for several videos, it just feels really dark and dreary and not real happy. So yeah, it's cute, but it's kind of dark. So go ahead and take a look at my social media and let me know what you think. Tell me which option that you like, and in the next couple weeks, I'm going to order that. I'll have a new backdrop. Other than that, I hope that you have a fantastic week. I hope you're enjoying the wonderful weather. Any dads out there, I hope you have a wonderful and happy and joyous Father's Day. My dad has been gone for 22, going on 23 years, so I wish to hell and back that he could be here to be able to share that with him. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but for those of you who still have your dads, or if you have children, take the time to enjoy this day with your family. And I will see you next week on Prison Life Diaries. And also, be sure that you go ahead and leave any suggestions for future episodes, or if any questions and comments below here in the comment section. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know you liked the video. Hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of future videos. Hit the little bell icon. And I'll see you next time.